video. This is a video reply to Alaskan Ballistics in reference to hashtag guardeveryschool. He asked for, he gave his points, and then he also talked about asking for some ideas. One idea that actually I agree with all four of his ideas on the premise. Some of the finer points, you know, could need to be hashed out maybe, but on point, I believe all of them. First, carry at schools. Any person that's going to be carrying at school needs to have training. That training needs to include stress inoculation type training. You're going to have people that are put into a stressful environment, and they need to understand how the body reacts under stressful situations. Also, we need background checks. You know, these people need to be vetted. And once that is done, I believe that is the last line of defense. Several lines of defense that go before it would be parents. What are parents doing to teach their own kids how to deal with stressful situations? Both the parents of the people who become the aggressors, the people who become the threat, and parents teaching their kids how to deal with bad situations that happen, whether it be at school or anywhere else they go. Medical personnel. There is a almost 100%, and if I remember correctly, all the ones I remember have been on medication. These shooters have been on medication. We need to deal with that. There are obviously side effects that need to be dealt with, and the medical community needs to understand that. Law enforcement agencies who don't take action need to be dealt with. That is going to come from the citizens. The citizens are going to be the ones who are going to demand action from law enforcement agencies who don't react. I think a lot of this comes from bad tactics that were used in the past and not forcing retraining on law enforcement officers. You know, I have yet to ever meet a law enforcement officer who said that he would stand by and let something like this happen. But they're going to abide by their training because that's what's going to protect them legally. We need to make sure that that gets changed. Schools. I believe all school districts, individual schools, and even, you know, state and federal level, there needs to be mandated training. If you look back to things like earthquake training, the nuclear training, you know, the nuclear detonation training that used to take place, specifically during times like the Cuban Missile Crisis. If you would have been a school administrator in South Florida or there along the Gulf Coast, and you wouldn't have done training to teach your students how to get underneath their desks and, you know, how to don necessary protective equipment that you had, you would have been tarred and feathered. Maybe that's not necessarily the right actions anymore, but we need to look at what are the school districts doing to fix this. We need to ensure that training is mandated. Though I haven't looked into it too in depth, so far looking at something like ALICE training or some of the training that things like the military or some of these large companies go through, that needs to be looked at to the individual school level and how it can be best implemented from there. Another thing we need to do is we need to look at hardening our structures to defend our children. Things like doors, having electronic locks on entry and exit doors, having the ability to use things like windows for emergency evacuation. And a lot of these things are going to be multiple fold. They're going to pertain to any emergency scenario, whether it be a fire, a medical emergency, something like that. If you have the ability to get kids out of these rooms through more than just a single entry and exit, it is going to help with that training. I think that this comes down to the parents and other concerned citizens, guardians of the children, getting involved and forcing this training to be mandated. It needs to be no different than, any other follow-on professional training. This stuff is never going to stop. And the weapon used doesn't matter. There were, mass killings with, a dude with a knife and a machete in other countries, explosives, firearms, things like, clear the door. And there are steps to learn how to get out and check your immediate vicinity, around the door, so that you can look down the hallways, look both ways. No different than crossing a street. If there's a threat down there, go back in and have a plan to be able to barricade your door. All of this training is going to have to be mandated before anyone does it. And there is going to have to be a financial toll that is going to have to be put in place to ensure that this happens. So people may need to either, the school districts and such are going to either have to reallocate finances, or they're going to have to create new. They're going to have to get it from the people who pay taxes to make this happen. I'm not against increased taxes to ensure my kids' safety at schools and anywhere else that they go. This is something that we need to look at, and the citizens are going to have to mandate or ensure that school districts mandate this training for the teachers. Thank you. I hope this is helpful, and I will, once I get this uploaded, I'll go ahead and put the card down below, and I'll go and tag #GuardEverySchool.